I am Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher 33, and I've done some videos in the past on the value of silence, the power of silence, a quality, a state that is extremely difficult for many people here in the Western world. There are people who pay actually quite a bit of money to go off on retreats where the theme is silence, where there's no talking allowed, where there is no devices allowed, no phones, no input from electronic devices, just simply being in silence for an extended period of time. And many people who I know can't even go a minute without having some form of stimulation, without talking, without having some device on that gives them some sort of sound or a human voice. And the only time they experience silence is that little bit of time when they go to sleep. And even that sometimes is not silent, as a lot of times people go to sleep with a television on, with a computer on, with music on. So I find it quite fascinating that so many struggle with this very natural state, this state of silence, this state that a human has time to process and reflect. And some of why that is, in my belief, is that the information people are bombarded with, there's an intent to create a little bit of anxiety. And there's a repetition to it. There's a repetitive theme in the way words and phrases are communicated. And when one is silent, a lot of times they'll find a repetitive voice in their head. Easiest example is there's going to be some annoying song, a chorus that just goes over and over and over and repeats. And the person can't get it out, so they want to have more noise to drown out the noise that's existing within them. And everyone has their own little version of that. But what I find is when you can go past a threshold, eventually that repetition stops. Eventually it fades away. And part of that process is even asking, this thing's sticking in my mind, this phrase, this theme, this obsession. Why am I thinking about this? Why am I mulling this over? Why will this thing not leave me alone? And again, when one commits to being in silence for this extended period of time, the reward is a state of being that is transformed. You get a state change. You get more space between the thoughts that enter your mind. And you're able to catch thoughts as well. When you find those repetitive thoughts or those very powerful tugs, you can catch them and observe them a little bit. And this is the gift, again, for extended periods of silence, quiet. This is also the birthplace of creative thoughts, creative ideas. If one is constantly being bombarded with sound, with talking, with narratives, that leaves very little space for one to birth creative ideas of their own. They're always taking in others' ideas and they're spitting out. Lots of regurgitation, very little original creation that goes on when one is moving in this state of being over an extended period of time. But silence, again, silence is the womb where great creative ideas and beauty is birthed. And I'm coming out of a silence actually when I'm making this video. I actually took a day of silence, day of no screens, no people, no engagement, no talking, no writing even for me. I just sat with what was. And it's like taking a trip, because when you are not speaking, when you're not engaging, when you're intentionally allowing your mind to be unstimulated, even when it wants to be, you get to see the world with different eyes. So I'm going to end this transmission. You can take with it from whatever you need. And maybe, just maybe, you'll get a few moments of quiet, intentional moments of quiet by your choosing. And when you come out the other side, you might see a great deal of value of simply sitting in the sounds of silence.